Hello and welcome to the United Stand. If Anthony Martial was to leave Manchester United, who will replace him? What would Manchester United need to do? We've got 5 candidates today that we're going to go through, and I think there's going to be different opinions, so get your opinions in below. But we've narrowed it down to 5. I can say people like Marco Reus and James Rodriguez and Nathan Redmond, unfortunately, they didn't quite make the cut. But is Martial going to go? I mean, we don't know. The debate has been done, and we'll have to wait and see. He said that his agent said that he wants to go. Mourinho is obviously a factor in that. Can they recover from that relationship? Manchester United probably want him to stay. Martial would like to stay if he could play. Who knows what Mourinho wants? But as fans, what do you want? But if he goes, I think the one thing we would all agree with is that if Anthony Martial was to leave Manchester United, there's only one place we can go. Lionel Messi. No, I'm only messing with you, but Messi would be an option, of course he would. But we're going to start off with Cristiano Ronaldo, because I do believe that when it comes to this, if Martial was to leave Manchester United, then you can't mess around. You can't mess around and just go, well, I mean, the reality is every player that we've looked at is over 25, pretty much, for a reason, because Anthony Martial's 22. What I think we can all agree, I believe that Anthony Martial, and a lot of people agree, he can go on to be one of the best players in the world. But even if you don't agree with that, I think we can all agree that he's on a development curve. He's not at his peak yet. There are still areas to improve, and he's already a very good player. So why would Mourinho have such a problem with a player like that and then replace him with a player like that? I mean, Chiesa's been mentioned from Fiorentina. Obviously, there's people like Pulisic. But why would we do that? And how would that work? I think if Martial was to go, we've got to trust in the manager and go for the sort of player that Mourinho wants, which is fully formed, tried and tested, experienced players. And that's where, obviously, Ronaldo may well be top of the tree. And people will be saying, you can't get Ronaldo to Manchester United. You're ridiculous to talk about this. And maybe we are. But if Martial leaves, I think this is the sort of calibre of signing we must do. What people don't underestimate is, even if you want Martial to go and you agree with him going, there's a lot of fans who don't agree with it happening, and there will be a lot of fans who, when he goes, if he goes, will be very, very disappointed in this management. The only way they can turn that around, it's not even a football element here. It's a business. It's an element of life. If something you really enjoy is taken away, the only way to counter or try to counter that disappointment is to replace it with something better, if that's possible. And Ronaldo, better than Martial? Of course he is. Would I ever have swapped Martial for Ronaldo? No. Could Manchester United get Ronaldo? We're going to have to see what happens with Real Madrid. But he would certainly be the sort of player I would be looking at. 33 years of age, not a problem to me. I mean, it's 11 years difference between Martial, and I do have an issue with us replacing a player who could be here for years with somebody who's not going to be here for years. But Ronaldo at Manchester United would obviously be a dream, and I would love him to come. The next player I want to talk about is Griezmann. By the time you're watching this video, he may well have announced where he's going. I did hear a big rumour that he was going to parachute in from the NASA space station into the opening ceremony, have a fight with a load of crocodiles, and then win, and then under his jumper announce an Atletico Madrid top that he was staying. So if that's not happened yet, and it's still in the balance as to where Griezmann's going, there's always a slim opportunity that he'd come to United. Just in relation to Ronaldo, I think price-wise, 130 million, you know. Griezmann, we know, 90 million, so 40 million cheaper. Griezmann is 27, isn't he now? Is he 27? He's just turned 27, yeah. So he's 5'9". Obviously, Ronaldo's 6'1", so, you know, does height matter? Just turned 27, decent player, bit of an ego, probably need that. Griezmann, replacement for Martial, again, it's got to be somebody high profile. Obviously, I don't think we're going to get Griezmann, but he is an option until he announces where he goes. Gareth Bale, again, 29 in this summer, literally in the next month or so. Again, similar to Real Madrid and Ronaldo, what's his future going to be? One of those will leave. And what I would say is if Anthony Martial does leave Manchester United, either Bale or Ronaldo are going to leave Real Madrid this summer. So if Martial does go, then one of those two players, surely we have to go all in for that. And I suppose it's the age-old debate. Who do you go for, Ronaldo or Bale? And Bale, again, more right-sided than left, so that would give a little bit more balance than the Martial, Sanchez, Rashford imbalance on the left-hand side. I think a lot of United fans, if Martial to go, would expect Gareth Bale. Again, price-wise, I think you're looking at around 100 million and 6'1". Injury prone, of course. Well, injury prone, but he does pick up injuries. Injury prone maybe a little bit too far. Premier League proven like Ronaldo. It has to be that sort of quality signing, doesn't it? It has to be. And he is an option. He would be in there as option number 3. Now, the next one's interesting. Paolo Dibala. He isn't actually 25 yet. He's only 24 and a half. 5'10", Juventus. Won everything at Juventus. Not really been linked with Manchester United much this summer, which is very, very surprising. And I think mainly because United and Mourinho had said we're not in the market for an attacker. But if Martial goes, we're in the market for an attacker. And he would give something very, very different, Dybala. He can play that sort of number 10 position, but he can play off the wide, he can play up front if needs be. A bit like Griezmann. The issue with Dybala for me is how much would he cost? He would probably be looking at around 100 million, 130 million for him. But of course, the thing about if Martial was to go, the best option for Manchester United is probably Juventus for Martial. You wouldn't want to sell him to England, even though there's going to be a big queue of clubs that would want him. Atletico Madrid look like they've got Lamar. And I don't think Barcelona and Real Madrid would go for him. So the thing is, where can Martial go? And Juventus has always been a mention. Juventus probably wouldn't throw the money that United would want for Martial, say 70, 80 million. But if you could incorporate it into a deal with Dybala, you can manipulate that however you want. Because Juventus can say it was 150 million and we give them Martial and 50. You know, there's ways it can be done. And a lot of people like Dybala, and he is that little bit younger. And he's got a good relation with Pogba. My issue is, and I've got to be honest, I do like Dybala, and he could be the best option of the lot. But if I was making a choice out of the 4 we've spoken about, Griezmann, Dybala, Ronaldo or Bale, Dybala would be bottom, because I just worry, as I always do, even though I want Milinkovic-Savic, and even though Dybala could be great, out of those players, I think Griezmann, Bale, Ronaldo would perform in the Premier League. I'd be more confident. Dybala could be brilliant in the Premier League, or he could flop, and that would be my concern only about that. But I'd be very happy if we got Dybala, and there's always the big if, because I don't want Martial to go. We're talking here about who replaces Martial if he goes. So Dybala's another option. But then finally, the one that I really do think that we will probably end up with is this one, Willian. I do. I think if you look at the way United and Mourinho like to do deals, Mourinho likes players that he knows everything about. He's a massive fan of Willian. Willian can play off the right, and he'd be massively cheaper compared to Bale, Griezmann, Dybala and Ronaldo. He'd probably be about £40 million. The downside of Willian is he's going to be 30 in August, and it's a very, very short-term signing. I suppose some people I can hear screaming now saying, well, we've got Gomez and Chong, which is very, very true. I mean, look, Willian could come in and do a good job. A good job is what he probably would do. Age would be a concern for me. It's not a signing that really inspires when you lose a talent like Anthony Martial and you replace them with Willian. It's a bit of a backward step signing, and it could be a very, very good signing. And Mourinho loves Willian, and I'm sure Mourinho would love to swap Martial for Willian. Obviously not in the literal sense, would be silly to do that with Chelsea. But I can see it being Willian because economically it makes a lot of sense. We may not be able to get a lot of money for Martial, so Willian, 40 million would probably be about right. Premier League proven, good player, but ultimately I think Willian would do a good job at United. But if we lose Martial and get Willian, I personally would be like, nah, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. You can't take away my favourite player. Many people love Anthony Martial. You can't get rid of a 22-year-old who's very, very much liked and very talented, who could have been here for 8-10 years, for somebody who's Premier League proven, somebody else's product, and he's only going to probably give us a year or two. It wouldn't be of the star quality required. Now people will say, well, that's the same as Ronaldo, and of course you'd be right. But the thing is, yes, Ronaldo's 33, but he's also the best player in the world. There's a star status there. Yes, Bale's 29, but he's also one of the best players in the world. There's a star status there. Willian wouldn't probably be in the top 20 attackers in the world. It would be very Mourinho to do that. It would be very someone for a job rather than a top talent. But we'll wait and see. I think Willian's probably going to be the most likely if Anthony Martial goes. And I watched the Anthony Martial development with great interest. Of course I want him to stay. If we can find a way through this, I want him to stay. But my feeling is when his agent basically says he wants to go, and when Mourinho fears and feels the backlash of all this, on top of what is clearly not a great relationship anyway, you wonder how they can forge a relationship into next season. And I know United's stance is they don't want to sell him, and that's great, and I agree with that. But how do you solve a situation where you've got a player who would be effectively running down his contract, who doesn't get on with the manager, and the manager doesn't get on with him? I think ultimately this may end up with Martial leaving, and if he does, I think it's got to be one of those four. Not Willian, but I think it probably would be Willian. Get your comments in below. Where would you go? What do you think is going to happen, and who would you replace him with? I know there are other options out there, but I just personally think there's going to be such a hole left in this team if Martial goes that the only way you fill that is by doing something outrageous, and United would need to do that. And maybe Bale's the one. Maybe he is. But maybe you think Griezmann. Maybe you think Dibala with that Juventus connection. Or maybe Ronaldo. But I fear it could be Willian. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to drop a like on the video, and also give us your thoughts below. Big debate point this. Give us your thoughts. And also, if you didn't see the Anthony Martial fan debate that you lot phoned in about last night, give it a watch. That was memorable. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon.